So today we're going to talk about surviving their 4 month regression. So something that a lot of parents I feel like dread. You hear 4 month regression. No one ever has anything positive to say about it. They have very scary things to say about it. So today I want to take all of that fear out of the month regression for you, so you are feeling really comfortable, really confident. You know what to expect, and know that it's not as scary as as it feels. So if you've come to any of my trainings before, I always like to start with like best case scenario, worst case scenario. So I love to just talk about like what are the options here so we know kind of what to expect and maybe where you even are currently in these blocks. So green is always like, this is gold standard. This is where we want to be. This is where everything is going amazing. We're like floating on a cloud. Motherhood couldn't feel better. And then we go all the way down to the red. This is like, my life is falling apart. I'm falling asleep at my desk at work. I had a client that was telling me she was at her desk in Boston. She had to leave early because she was like, I cannot, if I stay here any longer, I'm not going to be able to drive home safely because I'm so exhausted. So we just want to make sure that that's not happening to any of you. Hold on 1 second. I have Safe Light calling me. Hello? Good, how are you? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Bye. Oh, okay. How do I unpause? Let's resume. Okay, you can see my screen now? Okay, good. So now we're gonna go down. Hold on. Okay. Um, so now we're gonna go down. So this is where I would love some support, some audience participation. So when your little one is in the 4 month regression, we're going to talk about like best case scenario. So we want when your baby wakes up, they don't need any support to get back to sleep. Hold on 1 second. I have to bring my keys out because I have a crack in my windshield, and they have to fix it. Can you just give the guy my keys? They're in my pocket. Okay, thanks. Okay, so the 4 month regression is what happens when children add in additional stages of sleep that they did not have as a newborn. So what happens, essentially newborns, their sleep isn't super complicated. They're awake or they're asleep. But when we get to that 4 month regression, we add in additional layers of sleep that they did not have. So there is a light stage of sleep that comes up when they are initially falling asleep in about every 2 hours. And then there is going to be a deeper layer of REM sleep that they also did not have. So once they cycle through that sleep, we come up to that light stage of sleep. And if they needed a lot of support to get to sleep initially through rocking, feeding, walking, any of those, they're going to need that support again to be able to get back to sleep. So the best case scenario during the 4 month regression is that maybe they're waking up those every 2 hours, but they're not needing any support to get back to sleep. You just hear them, moving around, maybe cry out, kick, and then they get themselves back to sleep. So through this 4 month regression, you can always pop in the chat, like, what is your best case scenario of all the things you've heard, the things that have scared you? What would you feel like, okay, if I could do this, or if this were to happen, this would be best case for us? So you can pop it in the chat, and then I'll just write one or two of them down. So I have, that they wake up, but they don't need support to get back to sleep. It ends and things go back to normal. Yep. So regression ends. Good. Sleeper comes back. Yep, that's what we want. Longer than 2 to 3 hour stretches and false starts. Okay, a 4 hour stretch. So we'll say 4 hour stretch. 4-hour stretch of sleep. Awesome. So the next is the yellow. Maybe we're doing one feeding overnight. Maybe you're having to help get at bedtime. Maybe it's taking 15, 20 minutes, like not terrible, but also not lovely. Like we would love to be able to give you hugs and kisses, put you into the crib or bassinet, walk out of the room. But it's taking about 15, 20 minutes. You know, your show is delayed a little bit, but you're still getting a good stretch of sleep after that. And then maybe one consistent overnight feed, but they're going back down easily. So what would be that, like, it's not perfect, but like I'm able to get through this. So I'm going to copy paste all the things from this first one as you are putting in your yellow. Like, again, not the best, but I can live like this. And things will be okay. We will make it through. Where I would say, yeah, that green is really like, this is perfection. So Jane, I might even say like 4 hours of sleep. We might even say like 12 hours of sleep for the green. Going to bed, okay. Maybe 1 or 2 wake ups. Okay. Yep. Okay. Maybe 1 or 2 wake ups. Hard, not perfect. You're going to be tired in the morning, but you're going to be able to get through your day mostly, and it's not going to be, it's not going to be detrimental to you. So now we're going down to that orange. What's happening in this orange? Baby is up multiple times a night. Naps are unpredictable. It's hard to know what your day is going to look like. 1 or 2 wake ups, going back to sleep without a long stretch. Yeah. But back down kind of quick. So yes, so this orange, baby is up multiple times a night, naps are unpredictable. We can't plan our day. Somebody asks, hey, do you want to play date tomorrow? I have no idea because I don't know I don't know what time they're gonna wake up. I don't know what time they're gonna nap, how long they're gonna nap. My day is crazy. Baby is up multiple times a night. Maybe they are getting back down quickly, but we're talking like 3, 4, 5 wake ups. Maybe they're only 15 minutes each, but that doesn't mean that you're back to sleep in 15 minutes. That means that it's taking you like 30 minutes to get back to sleep every time, because as soon as our little ones fall asleep, that doesn't mean that you're back to sleep. I am one of those people. Once I do a lot of newborn overnight. So when a baby wakes me up, like it takes me a little bit of time to like get back to sleep. So that's kind of where we are in that orange. So does anybody have an orange situation where they're feeling like, this isn't great, but, I know I need to change this, but I'm functioning all right. You might not have one, but then, okay, I do see one pop in the chat. Right now it's orange. Okay. Yeah. Right now you're feeling the orange. And then we get down to red. Not sure if it's because of regression. Yeah, it sounds like it probably is. Up multiple times a night, naps are unpredictable. Definitely sounds like you could be in that regression. And then your red. Your red is waking up every 2 hours. They're needing help every 2 hours, 90 minutes to 2 hours that they're waking up. All naps are in arms. You can't get anything done. Your day is no longer your own. Everything is kind of devoted to baby because they're just needing so much support. They're upset when they're not like held and getting those good naps, because every time you put them down, they wake up after 30 minutes. They're not getting that good restful sleep. And then your day is kind of like, you choose. I either hold you for every single nap and I have a happy baby in between and I get absolutely nothing done, or I put you down, but I know I'm going to have to pick you back up in 30 minutes or less. And you're exhausted because you didn't get the good sleep that you needed. So that's really where that red comes in, where it's not working. The orange is like, okay, we definitely need some support. The red is like, I can't function. I'm not getting anything done. My day is not my own. I'm not sleeping at night. You really, really know like this is not sustainable. We need to make a change. So again, once we get to this best case scenario, worst case scenario, this arrow of what happens. I know Jane and Brittany, you have seen this before, but I see something in the chat. It's nap time. Oh, you're listening. Okay, no worries. I thought you were like, it's nap time for me.
No, I wish. I'm sorry.
No, oh my goodness. Do not be sorry. So yes, so as you see, like as we get further out to these arrows, these spaces in between get further and further apart. So maybe when the 4-month regression starts, we're here. There's a little bit between, best case and the orange, or the yellow and the orange, or the orange and the red. But then as that time gets further away from when that regression actually starts, it gets more difficult to move from the green to the yellow, from the yellow to the orange, from the orange to the red. Because as more time passes, it just makes it more difficult for them to be able to change the habits that have been created. And we all create habits when our little ones are babies. We need to sleep every single night. There is no world in which you can say, oh, don't worry about not sleeping tonight. I'm going to stay up all night with you for multiple nights in a row, and then I will catch up on my sleep on the weekend. Nope. We do what we have to do every single night in order for them to be able to sleep, for you to be able to close your eyes for even just a couple of minutes. So we want to catch them like right as this regression is starting, because the regression it's not something that just kind of magically goes away. I always think about it if I wanted to be a baseball player. My son was watching something about baseball this morning. Now the dog's going to start going. So if I just imagined like, okay, I want to be a baseball player, and then I just decided, yep, I'm just going to wait for the day where I'm a great baseball player. That's never going to happen. I can't just sit on my couch and decide I can't wait to be a great baseball player. I have to actively do something. I don't know. I shouldn't have picked baseball. I have to train. I have to go out onto the field. I have to like pick up a bat. I have to do things in order to be able to be a good baseball player. And your baby is the same way. Your baby isn't just going to wake up one day and know how to have the skills to fall asleep independently when these new cycles of sleep come in. We're going to have to help them to be able to learn these skills so that they can become a great sleeper. So we want to catch them in the beginning when they're really just having trouble incorporating these skills in, or these cycles of sleep in, to be able to get them up to that green as quick as possible, instead of kind of waiting for them to drop down to that red and then feeling like we're going to make a change. We want to get it quickly because we know that this isn't something magical that they're just going to understand how to do. So when we're thinking about surviving the 4-month regression, we want to think about what is our ideal situation. And really, this goes back to this like green that we talked about. Baby is waking up overnight, but they don't need support to get back down. You're not in that constant alert state. Something else I was talking about with a potential client yesterday, I think, where she can't really relax into sleep because every time she hears her daughter, she's like, is she going to wake up? Is this it? Should I wait and see if she's going to wake up more, if she's going to go back to sleep? We want you to be able to soundly sleep no matter what is happening. You have the skills to get yourself back to sleep. I don't have to stay here and wait alert and ready to see what's going to happen. So really what we want is an independent and secure sleeper. One of the biggest things, so there's 3 big things that come up. Is your baby waking because they're hungry? As moms, apparently we always want to feed our children. That is just a thing. So it doesn't end when they're babies. It goes into adulthood. My mom, she actually came over the other day with like ingredients for a soup that I did not ask her for, but she wanted to give me. So she like brought the celery and the onions. I'm like, okay, thanks, mom. This is great. So we want to make sure our babies aren't hungry. We also want to make sure that anything that we're doing for a purpose. We're not just like doing one method one night and then like, ooh, I'm not sure if that works. So let me do something else another night. We know consistency is important. Every person on here and everyone listening to the replay knows that this is important, but they're just not sure like which part should I be consistent with? I did this. It didn't really feel like it worked, but like, do I keep doing it even though it didn't work? Should I do something else and keep part of it? So we know consistency is important, but like, how and when do we stay consistent? And then we need some age appropriate boundaries. Your baby is 4 months old. They are still a baby. We don't want to have the same strategies that we're using for a 12-month-old, for a 2-year-old, for a 4-year-old. We have to have something that's really age appropriate to them because they are still so little. But we also do want to have these boundaries. Sounds like an older child word, but it's really important for them to just know like what are you expecting of me? What do you want me to do at this time? So how do we do that in a way that is meant for a 4-month-old? So as we move down, if my computer would work with me, there we go. So the first thing when we're talking about wondering if your baby is waking up hungry, it's hard to know at this age because they don't have any words. They can't really tell us. So a big thing that I work with families on is knowing the difference between when your child is waking up from hunger and when they're waking up needing support, because we have to know the difference between the two for you to feel comfortable and then to be able to stay consistent. So we talk about daytime foundations. What happens during the day is going to have a huge impact on your night, especially during this time. We want to have some regulation during the day so that we can tell these multiple wake ups at night are not because they didn't have enough during the day, or not because they didn't sleep enough during the day. So when we're looking at these daytime foundations, there's two main things. We want to have that morning anchor and we want to have nice full feeds. So the full feeds are exactly what they sound like. There's no snack and snooze. They're not eating a tiny bit, sleeping a tiny bit, eating a tiny bit, sleeping a tiny bit. We want to know that when they are eating, they are getting a nice full feed at least every 3 hours during the day. So we're looking at those feeds. How often are they eating? If they're bottle fed, how much are they taking in? Sometimes some babies have even started solids around this age if their pediatrician recommends that. So what is that looking like too? We want to make sure that they have every single thing that they need during the day feed wise so that you can feel more comfortable overnight. We're going to look at their weight. We're going to look at I never know how to phrase this, but like, how 4 months are they? Did they just turn 4 months yesterday? Are they going to turn 5 months tomorrow? That's also going to have a little bit of a difference in the strategies that we're going to go forward with. Were they premature? Is this something where they were very slow to grow at the beginning? Maybe they had some waking concerns. So the full feeds is definitely something we have to look at. We have to feel comfortable with to know that when we're weaning overnight feeds, they are doing it on their own because they are ready to drop those feeds. If at any time you are the one that's saying, you're waking up and upset, but I'm not going to feed you, it's not going to feel good. So we need to have this foundation that lets you feel comfortable with the amount of feeds that we're going to offer overnight, and them to be the ones that are driving the bus and them to be waking up less to eat instead of you saying, no, you cannot eat. And then we need that morning anchor so we can start the daytime. We need to have this time where this is our morning because this is going to result in the rest of the day going well. Where sometimes with especially a child that's in the 4-month regression and they're waking up multiple times a night, it's really tempting to let them sleep an extra hour and a half, an extra 2 hours in the morning, knowing that they didn't sleep well at night. But we really need that morning anchor so that it doesn't transition in. So your questions are how do I create that morning anchor? Because if they didn't sleep well, I need to make sure they get some sleep in when they can. But what if they're the opposite and they're waking up super early? And then I can't have that morning anchor because I don't know how to get them back to sleep in those early morning times. So those are two things that we cover to make sure that you can have a very consistent morning time and a very consistent bedtime. So we have 12 hours that are daytime and we have 12 hours that are nighttime. And if they're struggling to keep that morning anchor, what do we do to make sure that we can get that on track so that the naps are happening at the same times every day. At 4 months old, I definitely want children on a more structured schedule. I want to be moving away from awake windows and getting to a set schedule so you know what's going to happen every single day about every single nap. Any questions on the daytime foundations and the concerns about hunger? Because I know that is probably the biggest thing in the 4 month regression. People will tell you your baby is growing. Now they need more food. They're waking up hungry. You can't not feed them. And yes, we don't want to not feed a hungry baby, but we also want to make sure that they actually are hungry. And it's not that they are waking because they just don't know how to get themselves back to sleep, but they're never going to say no to eating.
Question if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess we're still working on at this point, like having consistent naps. Like, is it, you said not a wake window. So is it not 2 hours anymore? Or is it, how do you do that?
So ideally, it should be the awake window and the set schedule should be the same.
Okay.
So it should be 2 hours, but we want it to be the same 2 hours. So our morning anchor, let's say it's 7, 2 hour wake window would mean nap would be at 9. Also on a set schedule, nap would be at 9. So we want to have, they should line up. But sometimes what happens if we don't have that morning anchor, say your morning starts at 8:30, then that nap isn't going to come at 9 like it would during the set schedule. It's not going to come until, what time did I say? 8:30, 10:30. So then they don't line up anymore.
Right.
So that's where we want to have that morning anchor so we can keep that set schedule, but will also mean 2 hour awake windows.
Okay. Yeah, working on it.
Yeah, it's tricky, but really that morning piece is the first thing to start with.
And sorry, when you mean morning anchor, it's like consistent kind of wake up times or around that is okay.
Yes. Yep. So then we also in my program we talk too about like babies aren't robots, so they're
Yeah.
not, their eyes are not going to open at 7 a.m. every single morning. So that's also talked about too, because we need some flexibility for just babies, for just
Yeah.
real life. But we do want to have like, this is about the time that our mornings are going to start every single day.
And assumably, if the night has been rough, they're going to try to catch up on the naps. So, do we let naps go longer or?
So it would depend on the baby and depend on the timing. Most likely, yes, but not always. Because if they then are sleeping 5-6 hours during the day, then we're not going to get a good night. It's going to be really hard for them to fall asleep. So then that's where this next piece comes in, the bedtime clarity. It's going to be really hard for them to fall asleep, and then it's going to be really hard for them to stay asleep in the morning when the sleep pressure wears off, because they've just kind of run out of sleep hours. So then that's where it's going to create a cycle, because now they're going to be up earlier in the morning because they ran out of sleep, and then everything is going to kind of get out off course. So yes and no, but it depends on the baby. It depends on where you are in sleep training. It depends on where, on a lot of different things.
Yep.
So I feel so bad because there's so many times that families ask me questions and I'm like, well, sometimes, but sometimes no. And I feel like I never really answer the question. But it really depends. But when we go through it for your individual child, it's very clear. You'll know exactly what to do just based on your child's age, your child's personality, what your goals are, if they have siblings, like all of those kinds of things.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So now we go into the bedtime clarity. So this was like a perfect tie-in to that no question sleep system. I want every single time your baby wakes up, you know exactly what to do. There are no questions, because when you wake up at 2 a.m., you were not your best self. You were not thinking very clearly. But my goal is every single time your baby wakes up, you know what to do. There is no, should I feed you? Should I not? What time is it? Do I soothe you? There is no questions. You know Baby wakes up. This is what I do. This is what baby is going to do. And I do it until they fall back asleep. So you're going to know, you're going to have a feed window. This is what time I'm going to feed you. This is how I'm going to feed you so you can still learn how to fall asleep independently. If they wake up outside of that feed window, I know I'm going to go in, what I'm going to do during that time, how I'm going to soothe you back to sleep so that I am there to support you and you feel secure. But I'm also giving you the time and space to learn these skills so that in the future, you need less and less support from me. So I really love this no question sleep system because it takes out the guesswork. That's really why parents come to a sleep consultant is I've done the things, I've tried them. I'm not really sure what works for us. I'm not really sure what to do when. So this way you don't have to piece it all together. It's here very clearly written in a plan, delivered to you nicely. So you don't have to do the guesswork. You don't have to do the trial and error. It's all been done for you. And then we need the all night expectations because we really want your baby to be as fair to them as possible. We want them to know what to expect. I imagine you had a boss that sometimes you walked into the office and they were the nicest person ever. They asked you about your weekend. They were just chatting it up, hanging out. They're very friendly. It's amazing. The next day you walk in, they are in a terrible mood. They are mean. They scream at you right. You ask, oh, how was your night? They scream at you right away to get to work. They're just not kind. But they're inconsistent. You never know when you walk into your office which one they're going to be. Are they going to be the super nice boss that you can chat it up with? Are they going to be the really mean boss that you want to avoid at all costs? Not that you are a mean boss, but we want your baby to know exactly what is going to happen each time you come to them at the middle of the night or for a nap. We don't want any surprises. Babies thrive on consistency and on clarity. So every time you come to them, I want you to be doing the exact same thing so they know what to expect. Where if sometimes you come and sometimes you stay out super long and you don't assist them at all and expect them to be able to self-soothe and get back to sleep. Sometimes you go in right away and you feed them and put them back down completely asleep. Sometimes you let them cry for a little bit, but then you go in to pat them and then you feed them and then you hold them and rock them a little bit longer. It's going to be really confusing for them. For us, we can kind of rationalize it. Oh, this happened, so I'm going to help them. Oh, it's 3 a.m. and I just kind of panicked and went to them and I totally forgot. But for them, they aren't going to know why these things are different. So we want to have the same expectations every single night, all night long, just for them so they know what to expect and what is going to happen every single time you come in to support them. That is what is going to help them be able to learn this skill very, very quickly. Between 4 and 9 months is my absolute favorite age to work with because they get it so quickly when we are consistent. They know this is what's going to happen every single time I wake up. This is how I'm going to be assisted back to sleep every single time I wake up. So we really want to, with that no question sleep system, you are going to have the steps to have the same expectations all night long. So you always can be the same and they always can expect the same, which leads us into that sustainable flexibility because there are other things that are going to come up. Unfortunately, they're going to get sick. Fortunately, you get to travel. You get to do day trips. You get to go on vacation. You get to do what you want to do during the day. So we need to have this flexibility in there with, yes, we are always having the same expectations, but it's within a wider window where you are not stuck at home every single day trying to do like not able to leave your house because I have to be home for every nap. I have to be home for every bedtime. I want you to live your life, especially with children. I want you to be able to go out and meet mom friends and go on day trips, especially as in the Boston area, it's finally getting nice. I checked the weather for next week. Hopefully it's the same for all of you, but it's supposed to be 84 next Friday. I'm like counting down the hours until that comes. So in that sustainable flexibility, we need freedom and progress. And we need to talk about autonomy and separation. So the freedom and the progress means that no matter what is happening, we are still seeing progress with your child's sleep. Even if they get sick, you have the exact steps to still help them through this regression without moving backwards. Even as they are waking up 2 hours every night, we're still being able to go out during the day, to have the naps happen on the go, everything like that. So even with this change in their sleep, you still know that you can live your life while still making progress. There's no either or. I can do both. I can go out during the day while I know you're in the 4-month regression, and I know that we're still going to be making progress overnight, because we need them to know that they are learning a new skill, but you are still right there to support them. That is the biggest piece. And it goes back to those all-night expectations, because we need them to know that mom, a trusted caregiver, mom, dad, grandma, whoever it is there for me. They're going to be able to support me, and I can feel good and comfortable with where I am. It's really small in the middle, but it says a baby who sleeps independently and wakes feeling safe, secure, and well rested. That safe and secure piece is huge in this autonomy and separation. We need them to know that they are safe and secure, they are loved, they are able to be comforted while still being separate from you. And that is a huge piece in the 4-month regression, because a lot of parents feel like my baby is too little to be able to learn these skills. My baby is not ready to be able to fall asleep on their own. But this is really their first introduction into being able to be separate from you, but still feel comfortable and confident without you right there. And I don't know about any of you, but that's really a big thing for me in my parenting, because I can't be with my children 24/7, but I want them to know, even if I am not right next to them, they are still loved by me. They are still, they can still feel my comfort. They can still feel that I'm there to support them if and when they need it. So they are physically further away from me the older that they get. But I still want them to know, even though you may not be able to see me, we are still connected. We still have a bond. I'm still there to be able to support you. So I know that that is a huge, huge piece that a lot of parents worry about, especially during this 4-month regression, because they are still babies. But we do want to just be able to give them this perfect kind of split of, I'm here, you're supported, but I also trust you. And I know that you're able to learn these skills and to get yourself asleep and to keep yourself asleep at the same time. So there is no one size fits all model, especially for 4-month-olds. There are families that, I just talked to a family, the father is a firefighter, so their schedule looks very different from another family who maybe both parents, one parent is a stay-at-home parent and the other parent works from home, and they see their baby all day, every day. Some families need something more gradual. This is their first child. This is the first time going through the 4-month regression. They need some kind of gentler steps to be able to get to the place where they want. Some families are like, no, tell me the time, the place, the location, exactly what I need to do. I can let them cry for a long period of time. I'm good. But most land somewhere in the middle, where they really don't want their child to be crying for long periods of time. They want them to feel safe and secure and comforted. But they also know that sleep is super important and something that they cannot go long periods without getting good quality sleep. So my job is really just to help you implement a plan that works for your baby's temperament and your emotional capacity as a parent. So when I'm working one-to-one with families, this is really what we focus on. Success with schedules, environment, and routine. We talk about personalized sleep training methods that has you sleeping until morning in about 5 days, depending on your baby and where we're starting out. And then enjoying your days, because my ultimate goal is that I want you to wake up in the morning well rested, cannot wait to go in and see your baby's smiling face. That was one client, it was like a couple years ago. She told me, I can't wait to get out of bed and go see my baby, because I know I'm going to get the cutest little gummy smile, and we're both well rested and we're both excited to see each other. Where before, they saw each other all night long. There was no like, I'm just always looking at you. I'm always holding you. This is nothing new and fun. But now it's like we've been apart. I look forward to seeing him because I didn't see him for so long. So that's what I want for you. I want these times that you're with your baby to be enjoyable, to be fun, to be like refreshing, and because you have that separation from them. So I help you raise a well-rested child with a secure attachment and healthy boundaries around sleep that are going to last you weeks and months and years into the future. Yet to be able to figure that out, but you can always help her by like moving her hand towards her mouth a little bit more. If her hand is there, you can just kind of like put your hand on top of it to kind of
Mhm.
help her to keep it there. So yeah, there's definitely things that you can do to help encourage her using her fingers and her hands.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. Quick question, if that's
Yeah.
okay. So we're still working on like the consistent wake up time, and I know we're supposed to do like around 3 naps at this age.
Mhm.
Um, how like I guess if she wakes up at like 7 versus kind of like 9, and not that she wakes up at 9, but like let's just say 6:30 versus 8, how do we maintain that 2 hour window and keep with like 3 naps a day, if that makes sense? You know what I mean? Because it's so different.
Yes. Okay, so I would try to have a smaller window of like 6:30 to 7:30. She doesn't, you don't come out of the crib any earlier than 6:30. You don't leave the crib any later than 7:30. So it's a little bit smaller. And then you can adjust. We can always adjust by a couple of minutes. Like 20 minutes either way. So if she wakes up closer to 6:30, then that first nap would come closer to 8:40 instead of 9. Or the other way. Like so you have like 20 minutes on either side. Sometimes there is going to be too much time. So is that what you're saying? Like sometimes
Yeah.
there's just like an odd amount of time. It's too early to do bedtime, but is that what you mean? Like there's just the timing doesn't match up.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So
Okay.
like we're like, okay, it's 6:30, like, but we can't do a nap. Like, what do we do?
Yeah. So then if it was 6:30 p.m., I would do earlier bedtime.
Okay.
Because you're still within the like 20-30 minute range. So I would just do earlier bedtime. Um, Sometimes if say like third nap is probably where you're going to be able to like fix the day. If okay, we have way too long for an hour nap, like we have like an hour and a half where we would be able to then do a bedtime. Um, or like we have an hour and a half before I need you to be awake, before we could then have a wake window before bedtime. Do something that will get her to sleep for a little bit longer. So even if you need to do like contact nap to a stroller, or you got some errands to do in the car and she'll sleep in the car, like how can we fudge that so sometimes some naps can be a little bit longer, so
Okay.
then that will account some more time until bedtime.
Okay. And when you say longer, like an hour and a half nap versus an hour, or like an hour and 15 nap for?
Yeah. So ideally on 3 naps, we're looking for them to be about an hour. So then you can like, okay, I need you to sleep for an hour and a half this time because you woke up a little bit early this morning. Then yes, it would be like an hour and a half. But you also have to take into account feed times too, because if that hour and a half nap is then going to mean that she has 4 hours in between feeds, like we don't want that either. So there is a little bit of a puzzle of like, when does the feed come? When does the longer nap come? When does, so ideally it will all like kind of wash out, but we do just need to know, here are the times we're aiming for. Here's the windows around those times that we have flexible. And if I do have an awkward amount of time, use that third nap to kind of fix it.
Okay. And it should be 3 hours of sleep a day at this age?
About 3 hours. I would say no more than 4, depending on the baby. If you do notice that she's waking up early, then I would cap some of the daytime sleep and get it closer to like 3.5 hours. I wouldn't do any less than 3 hours. But yeah, it's gonna be about 3 hours.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I know. Again, this is one of those questions where I'm like, well, you could do this and you could do this and you could do this. So not an answer, but it kind of, yeah, it depends on the day and like what you have going on too. Because if you have a doctor's appointment in the like middle of the day, then that's going to throw everything off. So yeah, sometimes you just fudge it.
I appreciate it. No, so much better. So like these are small questions, right? So we're just so thankful to be at this point.
Yeah, yes, no, I know. But yeah, it's still confusing day to day. So as she gets a little bit, once you get to like the 6 month mark, I feel like that gets a lot easier because you're on 2 solid naps. Like it's just, she's had more time to be able to figure this out. It's not as sensitive of like if she sleeps for an hour and 15 minutes versus an hour and 30 minutes, like she can sustain the longer awake window too. So yeah, it gets a little bit easier, but yeah, we're still in the kind of like picky, she can't do too long an awake window, but she can't have too short of an awake window. So yeah, it will get easier.
Thank
Okay, awesome. Well, I want to be sensitive of your time. I know we went a little bit over, but thank you all for joining. I will put my email in the chat. So if anybody does have additional questions or like, yes, oh, Jane, I just saw yours. So around 3.5 months too. Yeah. Here is my email and my website. If you're interested in more information about how exactly we can work together, get through this 4 month regression, so you are not feeling like it is dragging along, your baby doesn't have the skills, you're not sure what to do next. So definitely send me an email, or you can always the coffee's not helping anymore. Oh no, we don't want you to have to rely on coffee. We want the sleep to be getting you through the day, not the coffee. So yeah, definitely pop onto my website or send me an email, and we can just talk about more exactly what that would look like. Thank you all. Have a great
you so
day.
much.
Have a great day.
Enjoy your play date.
Thank you.
Bye.
We'll have to invite Ria too.
Yes.